Hello, welcome. I hope my audio is up. I believe it is. Let's double check. Yes, it is. We have audio, we have visuals. I think we even fixed our. I guess we were listing our lives as unlisted, so I think we got that fixed. So hopefully, it's going out to the public so you can see, because we're here to have these open conversations. Hence the reason we're going live, and we're right here on the Oregon coast, right by the beautiful Highway 101. And we're a 101 show about psychedelics and psilocybin mushrooms and all kinds of wonderful things that are very much legal here in this state, and advisory. These are all just our thoughts and the way we feel about these things, and not necessarily a representation of the businesses or anything associated with this. And if you are not 21, you should tune out, not watch this, and wait till you're old enough to tune in and check this out. So, advisory warnings. The stuff we talk about may be controversial. Some people have said, like, why are you gonna just put it all out there, Willie? I'm doing it for a couple reasons. None of us are promised tomorrow. And so I hope that in having these little chats that it helps show what I'm more about. I've been a salesperson most of my life, so most people know me as this over-the-top salesperson who could just, it's no joke. Like, I have been in some very rough situations, not very happy with myself, not very happy with my life, and still just, hey, how you doing, man? It's Willie T. What's going on? Are you guys having a great day? It's a wonderful day, and then like completely breaking down when they're like, how are you doing though? But that was just me. I put on a good show. I've helped a couple companies grow. And so, and I achieved mine. When I was younger, I say a lot, so just get used to that, I guess, because trust me, I listen back to some of these and I'm like, my God, Willie, will you stop saying you know what I'm saying? Yeah, That's just my thing, I guess. So I definitely say a ton, and that's what it is. But yeah, a little bit of story. We were talking a little bit earlier yesterday about some of our stories coming up. And we made that big jump to Colorado, right? So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was a cannabis activist in Washington. We fought for cannabis legalization on 4 different efforts, with the 5th effort being the successful effort. It happened the same day that Colorado legalized. They beat us by an hour, I would always say. So I had to go play for the winning team because they beat us by an hour, that damn time zone. So yeah, moved to Colorado and got going. The thing was, and the reason I wanted to share this story, and I share these for my own sons who could watch this later on if they choose to, was, life is about goals. We set goals, right? Like that's what we try to do. And you got 2 types of goals, right? You got like the over the top life goals, and you got like achievable goals. They're called SMART goals, right? They're specific. I can't even remember the acronym for SMART, but it's measurable. You can recognize it, you can measure it, and it's achievable goals, right? Well, when I was younger, we had talked a little bit about this. I was homeless. I was living in the streets when I was 15 till I was about 21, and then it was the DOC I was living in then, and just making a lot of bad choices. And I'll never forget when I got out and I had my firstborn boy, and I wanted to really make a change for him, you know. I didn't want to be caught up. And the thing was, it was so funny because before, you know, I got locked up, my goal in life, you know, young 16-year-old, you know, was to get a pound. You know, if I can get myself to a pound, we'd be set. We'd be good. And we'll just hustle our way to a pound. You know, and that was the goal, right? Get to a pound. And it's funny because you set that little goal, you achieve it, and then before you know it, you're running with like 10 packs, and you're like, man, like, how was that a goal? You know, like, that's still never quite, you know, accomplished it. Because one thing we got to think about with our goals is, you know, where we're at currently in our lives to where we're hoping to achieve them. You know, where we're hoping to achieve that goal. Because the goal is set on your perspective, right? You have a perspective of where you're at right now, and then you have a perspective where you're trying to get to, right? And when you're in that one perspective, you're thinking to yourself, man, I just have to get to that goal, and then everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be set for life with a pound. Oh, Lordy. Such a young man with such high hopes and not a real vision of what reality is. You know, and that fast forwards, right? So you fast forward that, and I get myself where I'm now legit, man. You know, I'm now doing legitimate business. I started a little coffee shop. You know, and just to be real, at first I started the coffee shop to sell weed out of. Then Young Jock ratted on us. And Young Jock, nobody knows him. Nobody knows this song at all. There's a song that he came out with after, you know, we'd been doing this for a little while. He came out with the song. It was called First I Take They Order at the Coffee Shop, then I serve it out the window like a coffee shop. Got the work coming in cause my room's been real big. Now, this song was not popular by any means, but in my little hick town, it was the #1 requested song like 2 weeks in a row. And I even heard it on the radio. They were like, we don't know why this song's so requested. And I'm like, I think I might know why this song is so requested. We should probably not do this anymore. And we did it. And I had a family member of my ex who basically ratted me out in front of a camera one day. You know, I know exactly what you guys are doing. And just looked at her like, I don't know what you're talking about. Walked out. You know, should have never hooked her uncle up. You know, I said the only reason was because I let her uncle come through and I knew he couldn't keep his mouth shut. That was the #1 rule, right? Don't talk about it. This is a sweet deal. You can come through, get some good coffee and your weed, right? Well, and you know, this is 20 years ago, guys. So, you know, feds listening, getting little hot fingers. You're way too late. Statutes of limitations is way out past that. You guys already did your investigations too, because they actually uncovered that they were doing investigations, and so that would set the parameter for lawyers can deal with that. But yeah, so that was my first, you know, legitimate business, and then eventually my next goal started to form in my life, right? And I got my little store open. I opened up a little pipe shop right 2 doors down from the police station, with the goal of working towards legalization. People would ask, why do we open next to a police station? I would say 2 reasons. If they're going to come harass me, well, I'm going to save the taxpayer some gas money. And if me and this goes to the police station, I keep the tweakers out. So that's why we opened up. We did women's clothing and pipes and stuff. And that's where I started forming my second goal in life. My second goal was pretty simple. I wanted to have a little shop on the coast somewhere. We wanted to live in some cool little cities. and we wanted to just kind of be in a coastal area and have a couple shops and live out the rest of our lives. And eventually, unfortunately, even though I had achieved up to the point, things happen. Construction projects, people just not selling like I sold. And eventually, this was also 2008, and everybody's like, oh yeah, everybody stopped spending money, right? Like later on in life there. And so, we put it all in to make legalization happen. I mean, it got so bad for us, we didn't even have a place to live, and we were like illegally living in the bottom of our store. And my kids were, we were showering with a bucket. We had rigged up a bucket with holes in the bucket, and then a round shower curtain, and we would pour warm water that we warmed up on the little electric burner, to take showers, right? And then occasionally we'd sneak into a state park and take a shower there, and then we would put on suits and then go proceed to try a fight for legalization, and talk and make sure that hemp was getting recognized in the legalization efforts and pushing forward for that. And those goals were set, right? Like we came out to the coast. As a matter of fact, I think I see my brother in watching, and I want to give a shout out to you, Jason. What's up, Jasmine? Good to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in, Jason. That's when I actually got to meet him over here on the Oregon coast. It was actually a little bit south from where I lived, and that's where I set my next life goal. Was like, okay, I want to have a shop in the coast. But like I said, things happened. So that goal got further and further and further and further away from me. And eventually I had to make that decision. And so I made the decision to shut down the shop. I took over a job in Colorado selling cleaning solution, bond cleaning solution. Really good stuff. But they ain't paying me, so they don't get no shout outs. Love the stuff. Love the product. Was promised what I thought was a wonderful income. Once again, those goals are from different perspectives, and at that perspective, my income was so low. It was way below poverty level. And so I moved to Colorado hoping to have what I thought was a wonderful income, which was just above the poverty level, which is $22,000 if anybody's asking. So I went there going like, oh, I'm going to make $24K. Well, that never really happened. Getting paid was very difficult. Paychecks would sometimes be weeks behind and this and that. And so it didn't work out. So I went to work for this other company. And I also was going through a very tough time with my relationship because I was in Colorado trying to make a living, trying to make an established home for us. And it was really crazy because the goal just got further and further away, and I still just got up and showed up, I always say that, half the battle is just showing up, just getting up and showing up. And so that's what I kept doing. I just kept showing up, and it was difficult. I was angry, I was stressed, I was hurting. But I kept showing up, and my goal, which was so far away from me now, I just never thought it would exist. It stayed in my mind, but I just, there was no chance of it ever happening, right? I was probably just going to work these corporate jobs till I died. The end, right? And let's be real. At that time, we were trying to make sure that happened quick. Luckily enough, didn't have the strength to make that happen, which is good, because my life wouldn't be where I'm at now. And that's when I started taking copious amounts of psychedelics, trying to alter myself or possibly even off myself. And that was that was a great lie. Those drugs weren't, completely destroying you. You only gained schizophrenia if that was something you were predisposed to. Um, and so that never happened. And instead, I started healing. I started to find myself. Started to become myself. And healing from a lot of the pain and stuff. And even though my goal fell so far off, I kept on my showing up path and just continuously doing what I had to do. And eventually, the opportunity arose. And before you know it, I was managing a shop out on the coast, and then we were buying that shop out with some partners. And there I am, standing around, looking around, and realizing, like, wow, I accomplished that goal. Back to the 24K too. I just want to point this out. See, the funny thing about it was I had that. I'd only worked for that for 2 weeks, and then when the second paycheck came, they called me up and doubled my pay. Like, which was mind blowing to me because I didn't know that. But then I realized shortly, they were trying to bring another guy on for like twice what they were giving me. But it is what it is. I didn't know at the time, different life perspectives. I grew up in the area where most people were below, poverty line. But I still sold $300 smoking devices somehow. And so that's what we did. So here I am now. I got that position, that goal's accomplished. And I probably could have just finished out the rest of my life smoking weed and just sitting on the coast having a good time. And things were a little difficult, so we wanted to do something a little different with some marketing, and we were successful at doing that. But I caught COVID during that, and COVID is what kind of made me take a pause for a second. Bronson was born, and it made me kind of reevaluate my goals again. And even though I had accomplished those, I knew that with psilocybin opening up, this was a whole new set of goals, and the perspective changed. It was no longer just about me having, a solid place to live, because now I'd had a place that I'd lived in for, almost 10 years. And it became like more, how could we potentially keep this beautiful, fungus for the people, not have it just be torn apart for financiers, breaking into all of its compounds and put into this formulated formula for your formulated gummy, or this formulated thing for this formulated thing because we have this and no one else could do this, but actually keeping it open and something that could be readily available for people and for other people to experience this and just see the beauty of what it is. And that's when the goals changed. I had a baby boy, wanted the world to be a little bit better. And so that's why I chose to re-roll the dice, basically, and step up and get involved. And in doing so, we were able to accomplish some wonderful things, some things that even the cannabis industry was unable to accomplish. And we're still doing it, with Colorado opening up here next year. It's going to be a whole new landscape. They're probably going to have service centers opened up by May. And so there's a lot of potential there. Different rules, different perspectives. So huge potentials for Colorado. And so there it is. There's the, so now you have new goals, right? And that's what it is. The goals isn't the finish line. I think that's my message I'm trying to say right now. Goals are not the finish line. They're the tools to keep you moving forward and to keep showing up. That's what it's about. Keep showing up. Even when the days are tough, even when you're not feeling it, when you got a couple L's, you still show up. Those are the days you show up the most. So now you know. I need to get a little button here that I just push, and that's what I need to do. I need to get I got the but I need like the more you know sign. Remember back in the day, this is for only, us Gen Xers, maybe some, first millennials like myself, or some late boomers. But, the more we had that back in the day, with the little messages after school. But yeah, that would be it. The more you know would be the know thing. So that's my message there. It's just goals. We think of goals as like a stop all, everything's going to be fine. But just remember that goal line, it moves, it changes. You grow, you learn, you become better, And so you should always be striving to show up and meet the next goal. And that's my message to y'all. That's one of my messages. We got lots of messages, but that's one of the things we try to practice here as well in our facilities, is helping people meet their goals and find their goals, establish them, and then to remember to keep looking forward to growing and growing past those goals and making those goals I was going to say a phrase, but that phrase is like, we don't use that phrase no more. That's like a 2010 phrase, but making goals just easy, making it do what you want to do. Okay, so that's what we got going on. That's my first part of the talk here. I think for today, though, I do have my news feed that I've saved a couple news articles on I wanted to share with you guys. And we could talk about it. And if you are on Facebook, if you're one of our Facebook followers, make some comments in there, and you could ask some questions. And I would like to hear some of your thoughts. Twitch can do the same, but I don't see that feed as much. But yeah, if you're one of the Facebook followers, and I think YouTube has the comments open too, so you can comment there. But if you're on Facebook, I definitely know I'll see that one. Twitter, Twitter's just its own beast. So if you're watching from there, then jump over there on the Facebook for a moment and give us your thoughts. But let's jump into this and see what we got here. So we got some fun stories. I was liking this story right here. I couldn't believe this one when I seen it. What do you guys think about this? An Ohio police chief is fired for refusing to take a drug test after the mayor claims his office reeked of marijuana. Yeah. That is a great story right there, right? That story is definitely one that will have you laughing. The first thing, here's a couple of the sayings in there too. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Who's been smoking weed in here?" The mayor of the tiny Butler County village wrote in the letter. He said the smell of marijuana knocked him off his feet, so I take it that police chief was smoking that good. We gotta take a moment to laugh at these things. But yeah, sadly he was fired because he refused to take a drug test, and so they fired him. And here's a moment of personal growth, because if you've seen one of our first shows, you know how I feel about this type of stuff. Give that man his job. Don't be taking that. That man has a right to being free of search and seizure, just as any of us, okay? You have a right to be free of search and seizure from your piss. Come on, man. When are we going to wake up to this? Like, cannabis stores in your system for like 35 to 45 days. And that's because our bodies love cannabis. I mean, we have a whole system called the endocannabinoid system. A lot of people don't realize we've been eating like hemp and cannabis-derived products for centuries of our life. I mean, hemp grains, and hemp was one of the main crops to feed cattle and feed lots of our animals that we would then eat. So we've always had this in our system until recently, until big pharmaceutical companies and big oil companies and the logging industry was like, yeah, no hemp. Hemp is bad. And so, and you got to go for it. You got to fight for his right to be like, hey, you deserve the right to be free from your P2 officer. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's a sad story together too. I mean, he claims the odor was coming from more than 850 grams of marijuana flower that the department had seized in a raid in March. But we know he was dipping into it, okay? So he should have kept his fifth. He should have. He should be standing up for his rights. But that's just a fun story that I just thought was kind of hilarious and wanted to bring up. Here's another story that I really enjoyed. A startup using fungus to turn construction waste and old tires into a new kind of plastic. That is amazing. We've looked at some of these projects from our own perspective. We've looked into like oyster mushrooms. There's a few different breeds of mushrooms that actually eat plastics. And one of the projects we would love to do long term is having the waste from the growing actually being, eaten by mushrooms and less plastic waste coming out. Huge potentials for that, especially with microplastics everywhere. And then, the mushrooms you grow with that could easily, most people aren't trying to, they're not trying to buy plastic eating mushrooms because they're afraid of getting plastics inside their system. So, those mushrooms could be donated and used for like home, food shelters and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of potential when it comes to this stuff. So this company right here, let's see here. No, we don't want to join their mail link here. But yeah, that's mycelium that's being grown and being made into these plastic bricks and creating these new type of eco-friendly plastics, renewable plastics. Yeah, and reducing, a few different things, reducing the methane produced from trash. Obviously, me being by the ocean, I really care about microplastics ending up in all of our sand and stuff, so that could reduce this. And there's just a huge potential. So, this is a great story to pick up on. Really enjoyed that one myself. Oh yeah, we'll save this conversation for another show. But yeah, that's a deep one, guys. So yeah. And I love this article. What was this article right here? Because the way they wrote it was like, you gotta protect the power industry. But like, come on, man. Wouldn't it is a good thing to, energy prices? Could you imagine not having that energy bill? Like, that would be just nice. Like, that would be life-changing for so many people. Producing enough electricity that the power grid goes into the negative. That's an interesting thought right there. That goes along with those plastics that we were talking about earlier. So. But yeah, that's a couple of news stories. That's my story for the day. Just want to share at least, one story on the journey. I think the next talk will talk a little bit more about Colorado and some of the fun things I experienced and how those journeys kind of helped me, how they started piecing me together, because at first it was just taking everything I could and staring off into the brick walls and then finding my inner self and finding that inner peace, and then eventually finding that balance to life, which is what now I'm still working on. Like, not being this big showman, like, oh, look at me, you can't walk past my booth without getting told hello. And I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends know that. If you've tuned in to the show, you're probably laughing because you're like, that's exactly how I met Mr. Willie T. So, but yeah, I want to make sure to find that balance in my own life with that balance of, being the show and being like, hey, check these products out, check this out, to just being more humble about it. And, trying not to stress over the dailies of the business operations with it, and being more focused on the inner stories and the interconnectedness that we see inside these sessions. People are really waking up to a new way of seeing life, and it's a beautiful thing, and I think we need more of that. So our goals right now are to actually reduce the barriers to entry and get more people to have these experiences, and that's what we're trying to do. It starts with education too, because the news has done a great job of making sure everybody knows that no one can afford this, but that's just a lie. So that's what it is. So if you guys want to tune in, check us out, send me a DM and we'll get some of y'all on. Tell your stories, tell where you came from, share some heartwarming stories or some heartbreaking stories, share stories of overcoming things, finding balance, and listening to one another. That's our goals. So thank you for taking a few minutes to tune in with me today. It's been a good one, and we're going to just go ahead and give a little bit of mushroom dance right here, right there. Yeah. I guess the mushroom dance, I should have some music. I think this is royalty-free music. Just to roll out to, right? Mushroom dancing buddy over here. So, you have a wonderful day. I hope everything is going good in your journey. And we will catch y'all next time.